All right, today we're jumping into a real historical and linguistic mystery. It's the story of a language that might have been spoken for centuries, right in the heart of Europe, only to completely disappear, leaving behind just a few cryptic clues for us to follow. I mean, just imagine trying to piece together a lost world from a few words scribbled in the margins of some ancient books. We are on the hunt for Knaanic, a phantom language that really challenges our ideas about what a language even is, and it uncovers this forgotten chapter of incredible cultural fusion. So, where do you even start when you're searching for a language that nobody speaks anymore? Our investigation kicks off by exploring the very real possibility of a unique Judeo-Slavic language. To do that, we have to go back in time to medieval Bohemia, which is now the Czech Republic. In the Middle Ages, this place was this vibrant, multicultural hub, but it was also a place of incredible confusion, especially when it came to writing things down. Now, before we can even hope to find our lost language, we have to get our heads around the chaotic world it was born into. The problem was pretty simple, but the solution was not. How do you write a Slavic language, like Czech, using the Latin alphabet? An alphabet that was never designed for it. Well, the first attempts were messy. The simple orthography was just way too simple. You'd have one letter representing several different sounds, which made reading texts a real guessing game. So they tried something new, the digraphic system. This used combinations of letters for specific Slavic sounds. It was definitely more accurate, but man, was it clunky. And you can see just how complicated this got. To write the ch sound, a scribe might use CZ or even CHZ. For another sound, they'd use ZZ. You can imagine, this system was a nightmare for consistency. It was a really smart attempt, but it just wasn't practical for everyone to use. So with all this confusion happening with the Latin alphabet, you have to ask, who finally cracked the code? The answer is totally unexpected, and it points to this deep, fascinating cultural exchange that has been almost completely overlooked by history. Turns out, the solution was brilliant. The first truly consistent, phonetically accurate way of writing the Czech language didn't use Latin letters at all. It used the Hebrew alphabet, which was adapted by the Jewish community of Prague. So why was the Hebrew alphabet such a good fit for this? Well, it wasn't just a random choice. It turns out it was a perfect linguistic tool for capturing all the unique sounds of a Slavic language. You see, the Hebrew script had a few key things going for it. It already made a clear distinction between sounds like s and za, or p and b. But the real game changer was that it had a whole bunch of letters for all those hissing and hushing sounds, the sibilants, that are so common in Slavic languages. It brought a kind of order that the Latin systems were desperately missing. Okay, so we've established that Jews were writing Czech in Hebrew letters, but this opens up a way bigger question. Were they just writing down the local language, or did they speak their own distinct Judeo-Slavic language? The clues? Well, they're few and far between. And just to put things in perspective, this is how scarce the evidence is. From the entire 11th century, we have a grand total of just 17 documented Czech words found in other texts. 17. Every single discovery is like finding a precious artifact. It makes the hunt for Knaanic that much more intense. But then you find a bombshell like this. This letter, preserved for 1,000 years, describes a Jewish man from the Slavic lands of Rus. And what's so crucial is that it says he and the people from his home speak only Slavic. Not German, not Greek, not even Hebrew as a daily language. This is powerful proof of a deeply integrated Slavic-speaking Jewish community. So linguists have to act like detectives, piecing together these scattered fragments. They look at personal names found in official documents, names like Gastiata, which is clearly Slavic. They examine glosses. These are little explanatory notes in the margins of religious books, where a rabbi would write a Slavic word in Hebrew letters to clarify a difficult passage. Each one is a tiny window into this lost world. So, with these fragments of evidence, the writing system, the monolingual traveler, the names and glosses, scholars started to form a hypothesis. They proposed that this wasn't just borrowed Czech, but a distinct language. And they gave it a name. The name they chose was Knaanic, and the story behind it is pretty fascinating. It comes from the biblical land of Canaan. In the early Middle Ages, so many Slavic people were sold into slavery that the Latin word for slave, sklavus, came directly from the word Slav. So medieval Jewish writers picked up on this connection and started using the biblical term Canaan to refer to the Slavic lands. And this idea was championed by some real giants in the field of linguistics. They argued that Knaanic was a separate Jewish ethnolect, a unique language forged by a specific community, in the same way that Spanish Jews developed Ladino and German Jews developed Yiddish. But the story doesn't end there. Despite all these compelling clues, the mystery of Knaanic is far from solved. In fact, today, the very existence of Knaanic as a separate, fully fledged language is one of the most hotly debated topics among historical linguists. The debate really boils down to two sides. On one hand, you have scholars who believe Knaanic was its own unique language that was eventually replaced by Yiddish. On the other, skeptics argue it was simply the version of Old Czech spoken by Jews, mixed with some Hebrew words. A religiolect, maybe, but not a whole separate language. And this is why this whole thing matters so much. The quest for Knaanic isn't just about one lost language. It forces us to ask a really fundamental question. What makes a language a language? Where do we draw the line between something being a dialect and being its own distinct tongue? That line is incredibly blurry. Ultimately, the story of Knaanic is this powerful reminder that history is filled with these forgotten voices. It shows us that even in the faintest traces, a name, a scribbled note, a single quote, we can uncover these profound stories of how cultures meet and mingle and create something entirely new, even if it doesn't survive to the present day. What else is out there, just waiting for us to find?